Is going on? Are you done? You
No.
good? All right, go ahead. I'm gonna let you dance it out. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go. Hey, dance it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we shall live our best life through the lens of holistic health. You were confused on the hands for a second.
Maybe a little bit.
Well.
Maybe a little bit.
I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, I have with me the health coach herself, the dancing queen, the curl-rific beauty of the stars. Please introduce yourself.
Beauty of the stars.
Mhm.
Stop. What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd, and happy to be here on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange.
It is.
A Monday afternoon after successfully coaching 2 clients. Ding. Yeah, happy to be here. It's a holiday, Labor Day. We're doing a little bit of labor before we relax and continue our Harry Potter marathon.
Oh, yes, that was good. We didn't make it too far.
No.
Last night,
We made it halfway through the first one.
Woo! But today we are going to talk about, I think, a topic that is there, right? It's always looming in the clouds, but I don't think we always address it. And It's something that we're actively fighting through right now. And we, I think, are pretty transparent about our own health journeys on this podcast. We haven't made it. We aren't the 100% experts. We are developing with you all. So we're going to talk about today self sabotage, right? And this, by self sabotage, we mean like, how are you getting in your own way of becoming the best you can be, of living your best life? How are you a self barrier in getting to that next level, right? Consciously or subconsciously. Queen, are you ready?
I'm ready for some podcast.
Why every time? Why you got to do this to us? Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we're out. All right, so jumping right into it. And again, if you're listening on Apple Music, Spotify, we appreciate your support. Definitely make sure you leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. It helps more people get the impact of the True Health Forever podcast. So before we hop into it, Queen, definition of self-sabotage. Break it down.
No, I was like to start before we dive really deep into something. Let's start off with the definition. What are we talking about? Make sure we're all on the same page when we're talking about self-sabotage. So I have a little definition here. So behaviors. What was that? Did you have something?
Oh, I was wording to the crowd, what is wrong with her, in case you were wondering. But you can proceed.
Oh, that was it?
Mm-hmm.
So the definition: behaviors or thought patterns that hold you back and prevent you from doing what you want to do. Notice every pronoun there was you, right? So he already mentioned like, what are you doing to be in your own way? You've heard the phrase like, get out of your own way.
Yes.
Something we all need to do, because in some way, shape, or form, we are our barrier in our own success. And for most people, probably the biggest barrier, right? I think we've heard like a lot of successful people when they talk about like what they did to get their success is like, I got out of my own way. I started to actually believe in myself. And once I did that, the sky's the limit.
Right. And I love that it's 2 things, right? And but it's the behaviors, right? So it's the habits, it's what you're actually doing, and pattern of thoughts. So it's not even only what you're doing, it's also what's in your head. What are you thinking? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't have the time to do that. Like, all these thoughts are also acts of self-sabotage. So make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing and to how you're thinking. Anyway, this book that I'm going to recommend folks to check out, it's on Audible, it's on Amazon. I'm sure you can get some free tidbits on the internet, but it's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. In this book, and I listened to this probably in PH, so like 3 years ago. listened to it for the first time, and I started clicking like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it breaks down literally the internal war that you have with yourself when you're trying to create something and put something out into the world. And not even as just an artist, like, oh, I'm trying to, create a new dance, or I'm trying to create a new painting, I'm trying to do a podcast, but it can be, I'm trying to launch a business. I'm trying to lose 5 pounds. I'm trying to get married. Like, it was literally just goals that you're setting up for yourself. And he goes through the internal battle that you have. And the main battle is this term called resistance. And he says resistance occurs when you are trying to make a choice that delays the immediate gratification over long-term gain. Right?
One more time.
I'm gonna back it up. We back. All right. Resistance occurs when you are trying to make a choice that delays, shout out to Jair, delays immediate gratification over long-term gain. Resistance will take any form to trick you into choosing the short-term gain. I want y'all to let that sink in for a second. It's going to come back later when we go through our 3 steps. But literally every time you are trying to get towards a goal, you have that internal battle with yourself over, should I just chill right now and relax, watch some Netflix? Should I, have myself a margarita? Should I eat this pizza? Whatever your short-term gain might be. Or should I lock down and finish writing this book? Or should I lock down and schedule my one-on-one meetings with my health coaching clients? Or should I lock down and try to get, whatever the variable is for you? And I have one more that I'm going to pass on to you to see how you feel about this. Okay. You have any thoughts yet?
Of course.
Oh, go ahead. Dive in.
Oh, I wonder if hopefully I'm not going to ruin what you're going to say next. But I always like to ask, I always like to go to why? Because that's so interesting that literally, I feel like that's why success, whatever you're trying to do, why it feels so good once you've accomplished it, because you've literally had an internal battle with yourself every step of the way. And so that's a real triumph, whether it's something small or something big. Once you've accomplished that, pat yourself on the back because you've overcome you.
You've overcome you.
Yeah. Some quotes on that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that came to mind was the concept of again, just asking the question why. And I feel like it probably comes back to the idea of the survival when your body, in your mind, you're I'm preparing for success in 5 years or 10 years. I'm setting myself up for success in the next year, the next 6 months, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, whatever it is. But your body is probably more but I don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow.
What about right now, bro?
Right. We need to do what's going to make us happy and help us survive right now. So I feel like that's the constant struggle and the idea of why I guess delayed gratification is so hard, because your survival and your instincts want to focus on right now. Very interesting.
100%. And I'm not going to go into a full deep dive. The book is a really good book. He talks about the concept of the ego you, psychology, versus the self you. And he says the ego you doesn't care about the future. The ego you doesn't even know if religion is real, doesn't know what comes after life. The ego you is right now. It's almost like your animal instincts.
What is the show called? States of Tara? United States of Tara. Remember that show?
I do.
If you've ever seen that show, it's a person who has what is the disorder called? DID. I don't remember what it's called, but basically a person who has multiple personalities. And so she's not able to control it, but she will go into different personalities.
Dissociative identity disorder.
Thank you. Shout out. But there's one of her personalities, and it's a fictional show. I don't know if it's based on real life, but there are people who do have this. But there is a personality that is basically her primal, animal, and I don't remember what they call it, but I think we all have that in us. And that's so interesting. That's the first thing that came to my mind, is the picture of her that when that personality comes, she's literally on all fours, not speaking. That's very interesting. But that's her survival, id. Very. Yeah.
So it's constantly, and there's another way to do it. There's the lower self, which would be that primal state, and the higher self, which is your your human self, your I can think about the future, that I have morals, I care about other people over myself, like all of that, animals don't necessarily have all of that. And constantly when you're trying to, create art, when you're trying to create a better future for yourself, it's a war, it's a battle between the lower self, your ego you, and your higher self, your just called self, right? So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm not gonna go dive fully into
That's a whole nother podcast.
It's a whole nother podcast. But I do want to talk about this next thing right here.